Hi, and welcome to another episode of Sustainment TV. I'm your host, David McDonald, and before we get into today's video, please feel free to like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It'll help the channel to grow and improve upon what I do. So, without further delay, let's get right into today's video. With this being the second month of the year already, it may seem like life is passing some of you by. For today's video, I wanted to hopefully give you some encouragement. I wanted to talk a little bit about resilience. Simply put, resilience is one's ability to bounce back from life's challenges. Life doesn't get easier or more forgiving. We get stronger and more resilient. Another way of looking at resilience can be being able to accept one's new reality, even if it isn't as good as the previous one. I recently had a chance to have a conversation with a law enforcement professional that's located in Polk County, Florida. She had a life-changing experience a little bit over a year ago, and I wanted to talk to her personally and share her story with you. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation with Sergeant Heather Mundell. Sustainment TV, we have a special guest to talk to us today concerning resiliency. She is no stranger to being put under pressure. We would like to welcome Polk County Sheriff's Department Sergeant Heather Mundell. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Glad you could take some time to be with us. We appreciate it. Would you like to introduce yourself to the listening audience?
Sure. My name is Heather Mundell, and I've been a sergeant at Polk County now for 24 years. So I have August will be my 25th year.
Nice. All right, so your social media story is what inspired me to reach out to you. In your own words, can you tell the audience what recently happened to you?
Well, it was October 22nd, 2021, actually. And I was heading into briefing on a Friday night, and a lady with a medical episode, she ran a stop sign and she struck the side of my patrol car. I had just left one intersection and was entering into another one. So neither one of us was going super fast, but the way she hit my car, it actually launched me into a really deep ditch, and then my car just bounced into a tree, a really huge tree. It knocked me into unconsciousness. It took two wheels off my car, actually. And I hit a gas pipe that started leaking. And then I don't remember any of the wreck. Julius and his mother rolled up on the scene. They didn't see the wreck happen, but they could see me in the car. My vehicle, I believe, was stuck in the ditch. People were starting to call in saying that my car was smoking. Were afraid it was going to be on fire. And so his mother told him, get her out of that car. And because I wasn't responding. And so he tried to get the door open, and he could see me in there. I was bleeding, not responding. And he told his mom, she's not alive. And she said to him, if the devil's alive, so is she, get her out. So he goes back to the car, and he uses like every bit of his might to try to get that passenger side door open to crawl in and get me, which he did. He was successful. And he was able to get me out of my seatbelt, get me out of the vehicle. And once he pulled me out, I told his mother that I was going to die. And that's when she said, you're not going to die. And she started praying over me, which, is really awesome that she prayed over me. He held me then for almost 10 minutes, and I was quite heavy with all my gear on, and till medics arrived, and then he handed me over to them to start working on me. And that's when they rushed me to Lakeland Regional, and then they lost me a couple times, so there was information given that they had lost me. And then they got me to Lakeland, where they worked on me for over an hour in trauma because I kept not breathing. And then they brought me back after about an hour, I think. And then after that, I was brought to Tampa General. So the rest is history. Buddy, no, sorry. Here's my dog.
Yeah, he's good.
So that's pretty much once I was at the hospital and I was made aware. It took me, of course, a couple days, or I don't know how long it was until I found out about Julius. My shift was, told my family. My family told me what he had done for me. I immediately wanted to meet him. My family is dispatch in my brother-in-law's deputy and a sergeant in Hernando County. My sister's been a dispatcher for 16 years, and they started working over the next year at trying to reach out and find out who Julius is and his family, because I wanted, once as I was healing, and it took about a year for me to get to come back to work. I had broken bones. This whole side of my face, of course, has been reconstructed. I had plates put in my face. This whole side's been rebuilt. Lost a lot of my sight in this right eye. But once I could comprehend and understand what he did for me, I really wanted to meet him and thank him personally for what he did for me, because him getting me out of that car actually gave me the ability to breathe, and I think gave me a jump start at my life, or a jump start, I don't know. It was really touching what he did, because we have propane tanks in our car, and he believed that it would go up in flames, and he didn't have to go in and get me, and that he did that for me was just unbelievably kind, and I thought that was very nice of him.
That's pretty awesome. They say miracles happen every day, whether we're reading about them, we witness them happening to other people, or it definitely in your case happening to you personally. That's a lot to deal with, and I said recently intentionally only because it's been a little bit over a year since your incident, but when it comes to medical stuff, some of that stuff is not overnight. So you definitely have you had to be physically resilient, but also you've had to be mentally resilient, and that's very commendable. I think I heard you say you had family in law enforcement. I mean, it sounds like a family business. I know you mentioned dispatch members and whatnot.
Yes. So my sister is a dispatcher in a nearby county for 16 years.
Yeah.
Her husband is a supervisor at the same agency in Hernando County as well. And for same long amount of time, probably more years than that. So we do come from a law enforcement family, and they arranged on the day, the 1-year anniversary of my crash. I thought I was having lunch with my friend. And so the video that I put together and put on TikTok recently was them surprising me with meeting him. And that was on the very 1-year anniversary of my crash.
Wow.
It was all I wanted was just to meet him. Nothing for my birthday, no presents. I just wanted to meet him. But before my birthday, they did that on the 1-year anniversary of my crash. And I can't begin to tell you how much that meant to me. It was just such an honor. I barely had words. The emotions that I had, the crash actually changed a lot of things about me. So I don't have a lot of emotions anymore. But they stirred within so much within me. That is the closest I've come to having emotions, because he meant so much to me. It's been really awesome to have him part of my life and his family part of his life. I've got to meet his, wife, his grandkids, all that side of the family. What a great season around Christmas to do that. And to have him in my life has it's just been awesome. So I think it wasn't an accident that God had him that day pull me out of that car. I think we were supposed to meet, and he was supposed to be in my life. So it also showed too what he did for me. And when I awoke and I had survived that, it made me feel like, listen, you have a purpose in your life. You weren't saved from this to just lay here and be a victim the rest of your life and say, oh, I've been in a crash, I'm hurt, I have, probably, I now know I have some possible traumatic brain injury. I'm not just going to lay here the rest of my life and be a victim of a crash. Like, you have a purpose, so you need to set forth and live this out. And he didn't crawl in this car and save you so you could lay here and feel sorry for yourself. You need to get up and live out this purpose. So anytime I felt sad for myself, I thought of what he did for me, and it inspired me to live up to what he did for me. And it's hard to explain to him what he did for me, but that's what it did in me. Like, I need to get up and live out my calling. And I needed that in my life. And so he really did a lot more than just rescue me from a simple crash. He rescued me in so many different ways. And that's what I'm truly thankful for. That's where my emotions came from when I met him, when I said, you've changed my life. That's what I meant. Is like, he did much more than just pull me out of that car when he did what he did.
That's awesome. Could you describe a time when something hasn't worked out as you'd hoped? I mean, it could be what you're currently dealing with. It could be anything that's happened in life up to this point. I guess just to try to, for people to kind of understand, like, hey, if she can deal with this, that, and the third, then I can get past what I'm dealing with. I mean, describe something like maybe a setback or just something that didn't happen as you thought it would.
Well, as soon as this crash happened, I said, well, it happened in October. And I said, well, I'll be back to work in January. I've had multiple surgeries. I'm like a walking accident. I've put my family through so much, over the years. I've had all kind of things happen to me. And so I was like, oh, I'll be back to work. Losing my sight, having triple vision, and not being able, having a doctor say, sweetie, you're never going to put on a uniform again. It threw me, because being a cop was my definition. Like, I'm Heather the cop. It was all I knew. Realizing that wasn't a definition, it was an assignment. It was life-changing. That when, like, you're to steward what you're given. It isn't who you are. You have to be careful. Like, when you're given a talent, it could be singing, it could be being a cop, it could be a million different things. You're not to become the talent. That's the talent you're given, because it can be taken from you. And many times we're not content with the talent. We're like, well, I wish I could do this. I wish I had this talent. I wish I could be, this, because you never know when it's going to be gone. So we need to be content with the time that we have it, but then don't be too crazy with it, because one day it will be gone. And you have to be careful that you don't become the talent, because what happened with me was that was who I was, and then I didn't have it anymore. And I had to start praying for comfort, because now who am I if that's who I am? Because it wasn't who I was, it was just an assignment. And that's why I say uniform doesn't define you. Because I'm still the same person I was before I became the cop. I'm still the person I was before I worked for the government. I just had to realize that I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I'm all these wonderful things. And there will be another job out there for me that I can do. I mean, I still work for the sheriff's office in another level, and I love the job that I'm doing. But you just have to love where God puts you. We always want to be somewhere else. But this is what my pastor just told us yesterday. Love where God puts you. It should be the best place in the world, wherever you are. Instead of going, I wish I had this, I wish I had that. So the setback for me was, you can't do this again. And I hope it changes. I hope one day I can go back out there. I wanted to ride my patrol car one more time, put my uniform on one more time. But if I can't, I have to accept that stage. That sometimes the lights go out and you have to let other people go in that stage. And that's okay. And, now I teach, I've always taught at the academies and stuff like that. And I have to accept that role, that my time has come, and be okay with that. And I've had the comfort and I've had the peace about that. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a scenario where, like, being, having a beat, or a certain, I guess, area of operation. It seems like the intellect and managerial stuff that you already had in you. It's like that's kind of like, it seems like that's coming to the forefront now. Out of the current circumstances. So I mean, bloom where you put. I mean, that's great advice. In reference to being being happy and content where God puts you. So that's great advice. Um, what have been some practical ways that you've been able to build your resilience?
Well, I've of course had to pray a lot. And I've had to strive to handle change well, because any type of adversity that comes at you usually deals with some kind of change. And anytime you blow up, get mad, yell, you don't always feel rewarded by that. Handling things, passing tests well is definitely, a much better feeling. Going to the gym, lifting weights. The second I was told I could go to the gym, I was in there riding 7 miles a day on a bike. Even when she said there could be no, it can't be on any weight, just regular bike riding, I was there being consistent at the gym. And talking to loved ones, getting in my circle, people who are not miserable comforters, people tearing me down, but getting mentors, people that were holding me accountable, people that were, I went and got a coach at the gym. I couldn't do my CrossFit anymore, but I went to the same CrossFit and I got a personal coach because I wanted to start rebuilding back to where I could do the things, hopefully one day, that I wanted to do. And I didn't want to go to the gym to punish myself. I wanted to go to the gym to learn to pace and because I wanted to be a conqueror. I wanted to remember that when setbacks happen, we don't have to punish ourselves. We want to overcome them, but we also need people to be in our corner because sometimes we want to go lay down and feel sorry for ourselves, but we need those people in our ears going, let's go, we got this. Because sometimes we just want to comfort ourselves. We want to eat. We want to feel good, comforting, and there's days for that, but we also need people to be in there holding us accountable, saying, come on, we got things to do. And so we're going to have to get into the gym. We're going to have to get on and start riding our bikes. And I had gauze on my eyes and cast on both hands, but I had to get on my bike. We have to let that victim role go. Like some of us, we always want to have a sad story, but we have to let that go. And we have to live out our calling. One way, once I woke up and saw what Julius did for me and realized I have to live out my purpose, I refuse to waste away and feel sorry for myself. My mindset is so important. You have to go get your mind to determine that you're going to be okay. Do not let yourself just lay there and have to be validated by everybody you meet that something bad happened to you. Like that you've been wronged, that you've been hurt, that you've been broken, that you've been crushed. You have to get up and get over it and start healing. Because if everywhere you go, you have to be validated that you've been wronged, you will continue to be a victim the rest of your life and you won't be resilient. You have to nurture passion. And you have to nurture passion by getting up and saying, I don't need to be validated by that something wrong has happened to me my entire life. I'm going to nurture passion by getting up and being resilient and going on with my life. And we are refreshed when we refresh others. That's one way that we're refreshed. The third thing is find something to believe in. For me, it's God. I get a circle of mentors. I joined a freedom group. I started studying the word. I became a leader in my church. I was tired of chasing followers and likes. And then I was like, I want to be a leader, but I don't think that I'm the best leader, but God calls us all to be leaders. So let's just lead. And I got a book on boundaries, by Lisa Turker. She just dropped it. I started reading it, and it was fantastic. But we're just called to be leaders. We don't need to be perfect leaders, but that's what he calls us to be. And those were just some of the things that I did to build resilience and nurture passion in my life.
That's great. You know, kind of doing those things hand in hand has really helped you. I guess I never thought of it that way. It's like building resilience, focusing on, hey, reaching your potential. You're saying nurture passions. That's awesome. That's good. That's great advice. So as you're transitioning from one part of the law enforcement arena to something else, I mean, in spite of your new reality and whatnot, what new beginnings have you been able to start?
Well, I'm retiring in August, so that'll be my 25th year, so I can get a full retirement then.
That's awesome.
And I just finished my master's degree a couple months ago in social media marketing at St. Leo's University, so that's really great. I've taught social media across the country, part as a part-time contractor with the Bureau of Justice, and I've done social media safety for kids in high schools, in Oklahoma, all over the country as well as all over the state of Florida. I did a lot of undercover stuff in intel for most of my career. And so that kind of gives me an inside knowledge of what parents should look for, what kids should look for, and then mostly what investigators should look for using social media with liability. And so that is kind of some stuff I'll also look for, but also in the private sector as far as just marketing. One thing I learned that I really loved in college was don't sell, attract. That's good for Christianity. It's also good for products. You don't really have to sell things, just attract people. And it goes in so many different aspects. That was one of the best things I learned. I was like, wow, that's really super amazing. So I'm looking forward to what God's going to do. I'm also a professor at Polk State. I'm an adjunct instructor as well. I teach at a couple different colleges. So, I'm looking forward to that. I also have a missions trip coming up. I'm going to Tanzania with my church, Grace City.
Nice.
In July for 3 weeks. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, my daughter, she did a Fiji trip in her 9th grade year and her 11th grade year. So 3 weeks, that's a big chunk. That sounds pretty exciting. I think you may have sent me the link. I think you have like a fundraiser link or something like that.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'll make sure to post that in the description of the video. What are your you have any final thoughts for us?
I think one of the only thing is, one thing I learned, even though I lost my vision, is where there's vision, there's no vision, there's no restraint. And one thing I learned through all this is to have vision so that I wasn't just living my life day by day. I learned to start going to bed on time, to get up early, to go to the gym, to start planning out my life, not just living it day by day. And when I started having a structured life, there's even an app structured to help you with that. Then it just wasn't such a kind of a mess, and you can seem on the outside to have everything together, but it takes kind of something like this for you, like a crash or different things like this, for you to really tighten up and see some of the things that you're kind of missing in your life. And I just it took this crash, and it took people like Julius and different things in my life for me to finally focus on the things that were important in my life. And so, kind of late in my career, but one thing people ask, are you glad this happened? And I am, because it truly made me a better person for it. So that's all I have.
All right, Sustainment TV, some words of wisdom from Sergeant Heather Mundell, Polk County Sheriff's Department. We'd like to thank her for her time. Hopefully something that's been said to help you as we go through life. So thanks for watching. Thanks again for your time, Heather. I hope you enjoyed today's interview. Hopefully something has been said that can encourage, motivate, strengthen, push you in the right direction. All of those thoughts. In the description of the video will be a link to Heather's fundraising efforts for her upcoming mission trip to Tanzania this summer. Thanks for watching. Take care of each other, and we'll see you on the next one.